The Peaceful Streets Project. I like the name. I mean, who doesn't want peaceful streets? That sounds like a fine idea.
They even came up with a pretty good slogan, which I've used before. Protect and serve each other.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
When you actually watch the founder of the Peaceful Streets Project, Antonio Buehler, and you watch him on video doing his thing, it's anything but peaceful. Now, I can understand the anger, right? Like, I went through this phase myself where I was super angry at the police, and I don't think I was ever as loud or as obnoxious about it, but I definitely had that anger. So I can relate to it. I can understand that. I can understand wanting to see them suffer, for the violence that they perpetrate. And I'm being very generic here, right?
Right.
The police perpetrate against peaceful people. I get that. But for me, it was a phase. I moved through that phase, and I was able to. When I moved to New Hampshire, here as part of the Free State Project, I'm in a place now where there's 40 cops. There are 40 uniformed cops in Keene, New Hampshire.
Right.
Now, that doesn't include the sheriffs. There's a handful of those.
Yeah,
as well.
stadies out on the highways and whatnot, yeah.
But 40 cops. I mean, you're talking about dozens of people who ultimately you're going to get to know them. If you're doing cop block, which is what I do sometimes on the weekends, then you're going to encounter these guys. You're going to have conversations with them. And you can't, as long as you do this, you can't not realize that these guys are people too. They're human beings, and they should be treated like human beings. Now, we understand they're doing, in a lot of cases, the wrong thing. They're arresting young people for underage possession of alcohol, for marijuana, and for other non-crimes which don't actually involve a victim. And I can understand how it would be tempting to shout at the cops to let them know how angry you are about it. But
that sounds like awfully human treatment, actually. If we saw other people going out, I mean, we had this story before of the cabbies who wanted to go out and arrest the Uber drivers. Like, if we just saw cabbies going out and running cars off the highway and kidnapping drivers, we would rightly condemn and treat those people quite poorly. As a matter of fact, we'd probably put them in prison. Right. Mm-hmm. So, when we talk about cops, if we're going to take a position that badges don't grant extra rights, then to get extraordinarily angry with the people who are going out and snatching people off the streets and threatening lives on the highway, getting really angry at those people and treating them quite poorly does seem like we're treating them like human. I think normally we don't treat police as human. We treat them as superhuman, that they have special privileges.
Which I certainly don't want to do that. To me, they are just people. I like to call them by their first name. If I know what their first name is, I will address them that way.
Yeah.
And, I don't believe their badge makes them any more special than anyone else. But at the same time, I don't think that I don't think you can build bridges with people if you're yelling at them and calling them names. I don't think you're going to be able to do that.
Certainly. And we've talked about before on here, and I've talked about on my show that for all the crazy things that I've said about cops on my website, I don't think they're crazy, but for all the seemingly crazy things that I've said about police on my website,
things.
Very inflammatory things on my website. Some of these guys will sit down and have a conversation with me, and I actually have some pretty decent
relationships. Some of them
listen
to your show.
Yeah, at least one of them is a regular listener to Radical Agenda. A lot of them read the blog on a regular basis, and when I talk to them and I bring up something, they're like, "Oh, I read the article you wrote about that," and comment intelligently about it. And
so they're proving they read it, right? Like they're saying something they wouldn't know had they not read it.
Yeah. So, and when I came here, I figured that they'd get some kind of briefing and some propagandist to tell them that I'm just some evil, violent anarchist who wants to set buildings on fire. But no, they know what's going on.
Yeah, they've done their own research.
Yeah. So it's
come up with their own opinion.
It's definitely interesting to sort of have those relationships, especially in I guess part of the advantage we have here is that we're in a small town or whatever.
Right.
You don't have